Women often say they want a committed, loyal man, someone who chooses her and only her. But there's a dark irony at play. The moment a man gives his devotion to Isley, her attraction begins to fade. She might beg for exclusivity, cry for consistency, and demand reassurance. But once she gets it, without having to earn it emotionally, something shifts. The texts slow down. The affection cools. The excitement dims. Why? Because desire isn't built on security. It's built on tension. A woman's love isn't a logical transaction. It's an emotional story. The story is, he's already obsessed with me, he'd do anything for me. The plot loses its thrill. There's no suspense, no challenge, no emotional investment required from her. And without that, her interest withers. She doesn't consciously decide to pull a Wheats, an instinctive reaction. Her attraction is wired to respond to what she had to fight for, not what was handed to her. This is why men who commit too quickly often find themselves confused. They believed that by being open, devoted, and fully present, they were doing everything right. But instead of deepening her love, their eagerness backfires. She starts to see him as safe, predictable, even disposable. The very traits he thought would make her feel secure end up making her feel bored. Because for many women, love isn't about comfort, it's about chemistry. Chemistry requires contrast. The brutal truth, women often value what costs them. Something emotionally, the late-night thoughts, the uncertainty, the effort to win him over. That's what makes love feel real. If a man gives his commitment before she's had to invest, before she's had to wonder if she's truly earned it, then it holds little weight. Might enjoy the attention at first, but without the emotional stakes, it becomes background. Noise. This isn't about games or manipulation. It's about human nature. Desire thrives on mystery, on the unspoken question of, does he really want me? When a man answers that question too soon, the energy dies. The chase is over. And once it is, she's left with a man who feels more like a given than a prize. The lesson? Commitment should be the reward for her emotional investment, not the opening offer. Because the faster you give yourself away, the faster she'll start looking for something or someone. Else the tragedy of the too available man is that he mistakes constant attention for connection. He texts her good morning every day, always. Replies within minutes, rearranges his schedule to see her, and showers her with affection, thinking this will make her adore him. But instead of feeling cherished, she feels smothered. Instead of seeing him as a strong, independent man, she starts seeing him as predictable, even needy. His kindness, which should be a strength, becomes a weakness because it wasn't earned. It was given freely, without boundaries, without making her work for it. Women don't fall in love with men who are always there. They fall for men who have their own lives. When a man makes a woman his sole focus, he silently communicates that he has nothing else going on. That's not attractive. What excites her is a man who is engaged in his own world, his passions, ambitions. Friendship sand allows her to be a part of it, not the center of it. The more he prioritizes her over everything else, the less she respects him. Because deep down, she knows real value isn't found in someone who drops everything for her, but in someone who has so much going for him that his attention feels like a privilege, not a given. This dynamic explains why the nice guy, who does everything right, often loses to the guy who seems indifferent. It's not that women prefer jerksits, that they're drawn to men who don't seek validation through constant approval. The man who is comfortable with silence, who doesn't panic when she takes hours to reply, who doesn't over-explain himself, he radiates a quiet confidence that pulls her in. Meanwhile, the man who texts paragraphs, who needs reassurance, who molds himself to fit her moods, he repels her without even realizing it. His eagerness reads as insecurity, and nothing kills attraction faster. The solution isn't to play games or withhold affection out of spite. It's to understand that love isn't built on suffocation. It's built on mutual investment. If she isn't matching your effort, pulling back isn't manipulation, it's self-respect. A man who knows his worth doesn't chase, he attracts. And the sooner he learns that being too available doesn't make her love him, makes her take him for granted, the sooner he'll stop losing. It's the women he cares about most. The feminine chase isn't about playing hard to get. It's about the natural pull of uncertainty. Women don't crave a man who's already conquered. They're drawn to the one who remains just out of reach, the one who makes her wonder where she stands. This isn't manipulation, it's biology. For thousands of years, women have been wired to seek partners who demonstrate high value, and value isn't proven by eagerness. It's proven by restraint. The man who doesn't rush to fill every silence, who doesn't confess his feelings too soon, who doesn't treat her like the prize before she's earned it, that's the man who ignites her curiosity. Curiosity is the foundation of desire. When a man commits too quickly, he robs her of the emotional journey that makes love meaningful. She doesn't get the chance to miss him, to question his interest, to dress up for his attention because she's unsure if she has it. Without that tension, her attraction flatlines. Think of it like a story. If the hero wins in the first chapter, why keep reading? The same applies to relationships. The moments of doubt, the playful back and forth, the slow unraveling of his layers, these are what make her heart race. If he hands over the entire book on the first date, she'll lose interest before the story even begins. This is why women often stay hooked on emotionally unavailable men, not because they enjoy the frustration, but because the uncertainty keeps them engaged. The guy who texts inconsistently, who has a life outside of her, who doesn't drop everything for a date, creates a subconscious challenge, and challenges are irresistible. She'll rationalize it as chemistry or connection, but what she's really feeling is the thrill of the chase. The moment that chase ends, the moment he becomes predictable, her excitement fades. The key isn't to mimic aloofness, but to cultivate a life so compelling that your attention feels like a gift, not an obligation. Let her witness your strength. Before she receives your softness, make her work for your commitment, not because you're withholding, but because you know your worth. When she invests, when she chases, she values what she catches. Because love isn't about possession, it's about pursuit. And the man who understands that will always have her heart racing, not just her phone buzzing. The most powerful tool a man has in relationships isn't what he gives, it's what he withholds. Women don't fall for men who spill their emotions like loose change. They're drawn to those who treat their attention, vulnerability, and commitment like rare currency. When a man rushes to validate her, to reassure her, to fill every silence with words, he devalues himself without realizing it. But the man who understands restraint, he becomes magnetic. His silence carries more weight than another man's love letters. No sparks more respect than a dozen eager yeses. This isn't about playing games. It's about recognizing that scarcity creates value. In love, just as in life, women test men instinctively, not out of cruelty, but to gauge their strength. When she picks a fight over nothing, when she withdraws, affection, when she casually mentions other suitors, she's probing. The man who folds immediately, who apologizes for things he didn't do, who scrambles to prove his devotion, he fails the test. But the man who stays calm, who doesn't chase, who refuses to beg for her attention, he passes without even trying. Because her tests aren't about making her feel loved, they're about making her feel safe. And nothing makes a woman feel safer than a man who can't be emotionally manipulated. This dynamic explains why walking away works when pleading fails. The moment a man withdraws his attention, not as punishment, but as a natural consequence of her disrespect, he flips the script. Suddenly, she's the one questioning her worth, replaying her mistakes, wondering if she's lost him. Manipulation, its cause and effect. A woman can't respect a man who tolerates disrespect. But when he demonstrates that his presence is conditional on her treatment of him, that's when real attraction takes root. Not the fleeting kind built on flowers and flattery, but the enduring kind built on mutual respect. The lesson isn't to withhold affection out of fear, but to give it only when it's earned. Let her see that your kindness has edges, that your patience has limits, that your love, while deep, isn't unconditional until she's proven herself worthy. Because the ultimate paradox of love is this: the more willing you are to walk away, the less you'll ever have toe a man's true power in relationships. Doesn't come from what he's willing to give, comes from what he's willing to lose. The unshakable man understands that his value isn't determined by any single woman's approval, but by the unbreakable standards he holds for himself. When she pushes boundaries, he doesn't negotiate, he reinforces them. When she withdraws affection, he doesn't chase. He redirects his energy elsewhere. This isn't indifference, it's the quiet confidence of a man who knows another woman's interest or disinterest doesn't define his worth. That unshakable frame becomes the very thing that makes him irresistible. Women can sense when a man's commitment stems from strength rather than scarcity. The difference is palpable. One man commits because he's afraid to be alone. The other commits because she's proven herself worthy of disrupting his peace. One man molds himself to fit her life, the other invites her into a life so compelling she'd be foolish to leave. This distinction determines whether she sees him as a placeholder or as the prize. The moment she realizes he's completely centered in himself, that her presence is an addition to his world, not the foundation of ITs, the moment she either rises to meet his level or reveals she never could have. The ultimate test isn't how much she loves you when things are easy, but how she responds when you stand firm in your non-negotiables. The woman worth keeping won't rebel against your boundaries. She'll respect them. She won't punish you for having standards. She'll strive to meet them. And if she walks away because you refuse to compromise your self-respect, that's not a loss, it's a filtration system working as designed. The unshakable man doesn't fear these moments. He welcomes them. Because every woman who leaves for the wrong reasons makes space for one who'll stay for the right ones. At its core, this isn't about getting women to behave a certain wets, about becoming the kind of man who naturally attracts mutual respect. When you stop fearing loss, you gain everything. When you stop seeking validation, you become validated. And when you stand unwavering in your own worth, the right woman won't just love you, she honor you. That's the power of the unshakable frame. It doesn't just transform your relationships, it transforms you.